Things were okay. We were a happy family. Then he lost his job. And with it came the drinking. He went from a good husband to an awful man. It's happened many times. The temper, physical abuse, and the unwanted incursion. He said, "Learn your place, you are my wife. Your body is mine." I pleaded with him to stop, but with each plea came a slap for my efforts. What scares me the most is I think he enjoys it, seeing me terrified. I want to leave him, but I can't. I don't want my daughter growing up hating her father, but I don't want her loving a rapist either. I don't know where to go, what to do, or who to talk to. Is this rape?
Given our traditional and cultural boundaries, sex and other related issues, especially deviant sexual behavior, are not topics freely discussed in the open. Under this shroud of secrecy, deviant sexual behavior is allowed to thrive and fester, leaving an uncountable number prey to sexual predators and victims of sexual abuse and rape. It is therefore with a deep sense of responsibility that I welcome you to the maiden edition of Unspoken, a show designed to create a greater awareness and educate us on female gender-related issues in general and the severity of such unscrupulous acts and the need for us as a society to face this issue head-on. My name is Iretiola Doyle, and you are welcome. Now we're going to take a short break, and the show will continue. Do not go away.
The sexual violation of a person is the most intimate, yet most horrible crime a person can experience. Rape is a serious sex crime. It is in fact a traumatic and life-threatening experience, one that cannot be easily forgotten. As a result, it may leave the survivor full of fear, doubt, and anger. Many people in our society hold false ideas and attitudes about rape and rape survivors. These myths are widespread and serve to legitimize rape. As a matter of fact, the blame for rape is often shifted to the women and children who face such horrific crime. Some of these myths include that rape hardly ever occurs. In the United States, about 80,000 cases of rape were reported to the police from 2004 to 2010. According to the United Nations data, U.S. Justice Department estimates that 300,000 American women are raped annually. In Africa, South Africa reportedly has the highest cases of rape, with a heartbreaking number of 88.6% per 100,000 as reported by the UN. According to an article, The Rising Case of Rape, the highest prevalent rate of child sexual abuse in Africa has a whopping 34.4%. Concrete statistics on rape cases do not exist in Nigeria. Lagos State Police Command, however, recorded 678 cases between March 2012 and March 2013. Unreported rape cases are on the increase. More alarming is the fact that this epidemic affects underage persons. Many women are raped by those they know, hold dear, and trust. Many women are raped by their husbands, lovers, fathers, and friends. Rape has occurred within homes. Thus, the home sometimes is no safer than any other place. It could happen to you It could happen to anybody, and not only does it affect the victim, it ripples through her family, friends, and significant others. This brings to mind the story of Cynthia Osokogu, who was raped and murdered in cold blood on July 22nd, 2012, by her friends she met on social media. All in all, the memory of being raped and the fear experienced during and after the occurrence may never completely diminish or vanish.
Rape is a crime. If you have been raped, sexually abused, or defiled, it is not your fault. You are not to blame. Please immediately go to the Rape Treatment Center, Mirabel Center, for free medical and counseling services. Or please go to the nearest medical facility to you. Alternatively, please call the following toll-free lines currently displayed on the screen for further assistance. And to the criminals and perpetrators out there, be aware of the consequences of your actions. In Lagos State, rape and defilement convictions can lead to life imprisonment, and we will ensure that justice is served. Remember, rape is a crime.
This message is brought to you by
Welcome back. Indeed, rape and sexual abuse is one of the worst crimes to commit against any individual, because it's probably one crime where that person is victimized twice or raped twice, so to speak. Once, or the first time, by her aggressor or predator, and the second time by society, because more often than not, the victim is held accountable. Now, our first topic on the maiden edition of our show, Unspoken, is rape. The eyes of the law. How does the Nigerian law see rape? Does it even believe that it exists? Are there structures in place to deal with this insidious act? To help me shed more light on this, I have a well-seasoned individual. He is the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice in Lagos State. He is also the chairman of the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team. As the Attorney General, he leads the largest team of lawyers in Nigeria and indeed West Africa. Good day, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a pleasure to meet you again.
Same here, my pleasure.
All right, today we're talking rape. My first question to you, as the Attorney General of Lagos State, is, and we ask this also considering that the world tends to stigmatize rape victims, thus making it difficult for them to come forward. Given this challenge, how many rape incidences, if any at all, have you recorded in the past? Is there any data on this whatsoever?
Yes, we have data on rape cases. I can tell you that since January 2014, we have roughly about 250 reported.
Okay.
200 of which we have actually taken to court. Now, I must add also that there are fringe cases, what you might call half-hearted reports to our Office of the Public Defender, incidents that people eventually regard as family affair and refuse to really come forward. Maybe we get a complaint, by the time we look into it, there is a culture of silence or compromise and things like that, which we are also trying to deal with, by the way, because rape is a very, very terrible
I find that
offense.
interesting. You say you're trying to deal with the culture of silence, which is one of the main reasons why this show has been designed in the first place.
Yes.
How do you deal with it? How do you get people to get past the shame, you know, and come out in the open to say, this happened to me? What structures are put in place to ensure the safety and peace of mind of these victims after the fact?
Now, before setting up the structures that we have now, we looked at the difficulties that had always been there, tried to trace the reasons why we had those difficulties, and then we fashioned out responses to take care of them. Now, in the past, people just took the view that the moment I opened my mouth to say that I was raped, that the stigma is going to be with me for life, no man will be interested in marrying me, and all sorts of thoughts of that nature. And therefore, they want to keep it to themselves. And that could cause even deeper psychological, if not medical, damage, which is in the long term. So we try to guarantee confidential reception. Okay. Even we are working with the police. We have a team, the domestic and sexual violence response team is multidisciplinary.
Okay. It's made up of how many different groups?
Now we have lawyers from the Ministry of Justice, Office of the Public Defender, Directorate of Citizens' Rights, Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, the police also, and some NGOs working around this. And we are trying to sensitize the police because sometimes they are the first point of call, so that they have dedicated officers who are trained to deal with such cases, to assure the victim of the confidentiality, to get them tested very early. Okay. You see, because another problem is being able to get proper evidence. And the earlier that is done, after the incident, the more the likelihood that we'll be able to find and deal with the offender.
All right. And for the viewers watching at home, you can join this conversation by following us on Twitter at Unspoken TV Show, or follow us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Unspoken Television Talk Show. Now, sir, the downside of these shows is that you can never really expand as much as you would like on any one given question. But now, you're a lawyer, you're the Attorney General, so it's an appropriate question. Let's look at the law itself, the laws designed to protect them. Are they friendly? Is the onus upon the victim to prove that she was raped? Are the laws, do the laws make it easy for the victim to prove their case, or is it just another level of degradation?
Our laws have been modernized, especially in Lagos, and I'll give details of that. Basically, we've always had rape in the laws, which is that if anyone, any male has an unlawful sexual intercourse with a female, that is without the consent of the female, it amounts to rape. And it's always been taken seriously because it carries up to life imprisonment. Okay. Now, the modernization that I spoke of is that the ambit of that offense has now been enlarged, so that any kind of sexual penetration, and it doesn't have to be male-female anymore. So we have a separate section, 259 of our criminal law, which deals with other forms of sexual assault, which may not qualify as the traditional rape of a female by a male person. Now, directly to your question about proof, it is really never the duty of the victim to prove. It is that of the prosecutor. So I, as a prosecutor or any lawyer in my office, will be concerned to have evidence. And it may be a tedious issue sometimes, hard on the victim, because we want to ask the victim questions that she may not be disposed to answer. We want to subject the victim to medical examination that she may feel yes. But come to think of it, this is an allegation against someone else. And the law requires us to prove that beyond reasonable doubt before we can punish that person. I just mentioned the fact that it carries up to life imprisonment. So the only thing we can do is make it easy for the victim by getting dedicated officers
to deal with them at first.
To deal with them.
I'm going to have to, sorry sir.
Okay.
Here we go again. You know the drill. I'm going to have to round up this segment, but I want to round up with this last question because there's a lot of ambiguity about what rape is and what constitutes rape. According to the law, so that we are absolutely clear on what it is we're talking about, what is the definition of rape? What constitutes rape?
Non-consensual sex. Okay, a male person has sexual intercourse with a female without the consent of the female. And lack of consent could be inferred because I could by fraudulent means, by fraudulent misrepresentation, get the female to consent. I could, by force, get her to consent by maybe pulling a gun on her, things like that. So it's all it's all taken care of. So the slightest penetration amounts to rape, as far as the law is concerned.
We're waltzing our way out of this segment, but one last teaser, something that I know will rear its head in the course of this show. What you have described now, the definition of rape, can it exist within the marital union? Because there's a lot of debate on that.
Yes, there is.
Whether there's such a thing as spousal rape. Does it exist, sir?
As far as the law is concerned, it has the potential, it exists. Because the law simply talks about sexual intercourse by force. It doesn't say provided they are not married and so on. But there are complications with marital, yes, especially where the couple are still together, and how do you then punish, without disrupting the marriage or whatever, cause more problems.
And then
very thin lines. And then consent is presumed in marriage. There's a presumption. Married. So you really have to now prove that you withdrew that consent.
It was against your will. Thank you so much. So it's never an easy topic to discuss, more so on television. I have been speaking with the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice of Lagos State, Mr. Ade Ikpai. Now the TV show, the talk show Unspoken, will continue after the break.
Do you know what rape feels like? Do you know what it feels like to have a deafening silence via a fist? To be rushed into, pressed down and opened? To have your insides scraped and bleeding? To yell and hear your voice echo in your skull and your mouth cries loudly but no one seems to answer? I felt like I was out of my body. I didn't care anymore if they were going to kill me. There were bodies in front of me, behind me, on top of me, then inside me, damaging, crushing, and stealing my body, my mind, and my trust.
Welcome back to our show Unspoken, the show designed to deal with female gender-related issues in general, and then rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment, deviant sexual behavior in particular. I have my second guest with me in the studio. Her name is Titilola Vivor Adeniyi, and she is a counsel in the Attorney General's chambers and also serves as the coordinator of the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team. Good afternoon, ma'am. You're most welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm even shy to ask this first question because for the benefit of the people watching at home, what led to the creation of this response team? I mean, this is usually something we don't even talk about at all, much less of acknowledging that it's happening. For you to actually set up a response team means that you acknowledge it as a real and present danger. So was there an increase, a spiked increase? Did something tragic happen? What led to Lagos State forming this response team?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. You would agree with me that there has been an increase in the reporting of sexual violence,
Yes.
child abuse, molestation, defilement especially. And we appreciate the fact that different agencies are doing their own bit to address these issues. Government is doing its own bit, NGOs are doing their own bit. But we found out that there was no coordinated response from government to these issues, especially from the Attorney General's office, because as you know, the Attorney General is the chief law officer.
Yeah.
And so the Attorney General felt that it was important for us to harmonize our efforts, bring representatives of these different agencies under one body, so that we're all speaking one voice, so that we are all leveraging on existing resources, so that we all know what each other is doing.
And you all have access to the same information. Okay.
Working towards one common goal, which is to adequately respond to these issues timelessly.
Okay, how old is the response team? How long has it been functioning? And what is your success rate? You know, you watch all these TV shows and you find out that the most difficult aspect is even getting people to come forward and make a charge and stand by that charge. What have been some of the difficulties you have encountered?
Okay, the team was inaugurated in September 2014. And as you say, our major success is we facilitated the signing of the executive order by His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, SAN, which established the Sex Offenders Register and the mandated reporting policy. That was signed publicly on the 1st of December 2014.
When you say the Sex Offenders Register?
We have a Sex Offenders Register in Lagos State.
Once you have been caught and prosecuted as a sex offender?
Convicted.
Okay.
Your name is now on a list.
Okay.
Your name, your details,
and
fingerprints.
Tabs are kept on you?
Tabs are kept on you. So we do have a Sex Offenders Register in Lagos State. And then we also have the mandated reporting policy. Who is the mandated reporter, you may want to ask? The mandated reporter is basically anybody that has dealings with children, that is employed by the state government that has dealings with children. So this includes teachers, school administrators, counselors, health officials. Now they can't just turn a blind eye. If you see a child that is being abused, or you perceive the child is being abused, you are now mandated to report to the Attorney General. So we have a form that the mandated reporter is supposed to fill and forward to the Attorney General.
Okay. Now you've interacted with the victims, and I would assume sometimes the offenders themselves. And there's something you said. Yes, there is a marked increase in the number of incidences that we are experiencing. Is it that there's a marked increase in the number of incidents, or people are just talking about it a bit more?
I think increase in reporting.
Okay.
So we have both formal and informal, and it's good. It's good for us stakeholders. It means people are more confident in the system. I think these vices have always been there. People have always been raped, children have always been defiled. But I think now people are more aware of their rights. They are more aware that there are different services available to them. Even if they don't want to go to the police because of fear of stigmatization or re-trauma, they can go to an NGO. They can approach the Ministry of Justice. They can go to the Mirabel Center. So there are now other doors, if you will,
to other avenues to recourse.
Yeah.
How accessible are these teams? You've mentioned the Mirabel Center. You've mentioned the Office of the Public Defender. There are so many places. How easy is it for a young girl, for instance, to walk in and present her case?
Oh, I've been privileged to receive victims, or I call them survivors, of rape and domestic violence. We try to be very active on social media. We're on Twitter. We have a Facebook page.
Okay.
And then our members, any opportunity they are given, they always talk about the team. Right. So it's not until you reach me as the coordinator before the team is triggered.
Okay.
Once you get in touch with any of these agencies.
At any point.
At any point, the team is triggered and the team responds.
All right. Not only is this show designed to create awareness and educate the public, it is also designed to help any individual who may be going through what we're talking about, or anybody who knows somebody who may be going through, such an incident. So what would your last word be to anyone? information? Where do they go? Is there a number to call? What are the first few steps you need to take if you're being sexually harassed or sexually abused, or even if there's a threat of it? Because I think most of the time there's usually a threat before the actual incident takes place. Well, maybe not, but what would your words of advice be?
First of all, if the person has been raped or defiled, it is never that person's fault. It is not what he or she wore. It is not where she went. It's not her fault. The problem is with the perpetrator. The problem is with the person that has committed the offense. So please be bold enough to come out and seek help.
Thank you so much. I've been speaking with Titilola Vivo Adeniyi. She's a counsel in the Attorney General's Chambers and also serves as the coordinator of Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team. Now remember, if you are a victim of sexual abuse or if you've been harassed or dealt with in any way, it is not your fault. You only make it worse by keeping the silence. So don't forget to join this conversation. You can follow us on Twitter. We are at Unspoken TV Show, okay? At Unspoken TV Show, or follow us using the hashtag Unspoken, or you can follow us on Facebook on www.facebook.com/Unspoken Television Talk Show. Or you can also follow us, go to our website. All that information will be there on our screen. I think we've come to the end of our maiden edition of this show. And join us again, same time next week. Once again, this is Iratiola Doyle.